Midnight in Pennsylvania. 17 kids slip out of their homes, moving through the streets in a strange and unsettling way. By dawn, they're gone. Every one of them is a classmate. Every one of them vanished, except for one. Panic erupts. Parents turn on the teacher, the one who always seemed a little too suspicious. Accusations spread. Chaos takes hold. The police are baffled, with no clue where the children could be. And as the pressure mounts, that same teacher, tortured, blackmailed, and desperate, takes matters into her own hands, determined to uncover the truth before it consumes her. The question is, can she bring the children back? Friends, today we're going to talk about an American horror mystery film titled Weapons, directed by Zach Kreger. So with that, let's roll the intro. The movie opens with a child's voiceover. He says that 2 years ago in Maybrook, Pennsylvania, at exactly 2:17 in the morning, 17 children suddenly ran out of their homes and were never seen again. The most shocking part wasn't only that so many children vanished overnight, but that every single one of them was from the same classroom at Maybrook Elementary, 17 out of 18. An entire class gone, as if the earth had swallowed them whole. The only one left was a boy named Alex, a quiet child who now carried the unbearable weight of being the sole survivor of an unexplainable mystery. The next morning, their teacher, Justine Gandy, walked into her classroom expecting the usual chatter and mischief of kids starting their day. Instead, she was met with silence. Desks sat empty, chairs untouched, books left open as if frozen in time. Only Alex remained, sitting rigidly at his desk, his wide eyes filled with fear. At first, Justine thought it had to be some kind of cruel prank, but the look on Alex's face told her otherwise. Confusion gave way to dread, and dread quickly spiraled into panic. Word spread quickly. Within hours, frantic parents stormed the school, demanding answers. Their fear and grief soon turned into anger. Whispers cut through the crowd. Accusations that Justine had planted strange ideas in their children's heads, that she had crossed boundaries as a teacher, that she knew more than she admitted. The hysteria grew so fierce that Justine found herself not only distrusted, but openly blamed for the disappearance. The police were called in immediately. Detectives sealed off the school, searching hallways and classrooms for anything that might explain what had happened. Justine was dragged into an interrogation room and pressed under the harsh light of suspicion. She swore she knew nothing, her voice trembling as she replayed the previous night over and over in her mind, desperate for anything she might have overlooked. Then Alex, the lone child, was questioned for hours. His story never wavered. He insisted he didn't know where his classmates had gone, and that he hadn't seen or heard anything unusual. Yet despite everything that was said, a cloud of doubt lingered. Something about the disappearance didn't make sense. The mystery of Maybrook Elementary was only beginning, and the nightmare was far from over. The police found little to go on, except for one chilling detail. All 17 children had run out of their homes at exactly 2:17 a.m. In several houses, safety alarms went off at that exact moment. Some homes even had CCTV cameras, and the footage clearly showed the children running, but the way they were running was strange. Arms stretched behind them, almost like a Naruto run. So friends, that's the setup of the movie. From here, the story unfolds through the perspectives of different characters, and I'll be explaining it to you the same way. First, we see the story from the perspective of the teacher, Justine. All the parents of the missing children blamed her, but the school principal, Andrew Matthews, defended her, insisting she had nothing to do with it. Still, one parent, Archer Graff, wouldn't stop pointing the finger directly at Justine. That night, after a tense meeting, Justine went to a liquor store. There she ran into a shady man named James, a drug addict who asked her for money. Remember this man? He'll matter later. Justine ignored him and hurried home, shaken by the thought that one of the angry parents might come after her. By then, a few parents had already started making threatening phone calls from unknown numbers. The next morning, Justine discovered that someone had spray painted the word witch in large letters across her car. She went to the police to file a complaint. That's where we meet Paul, a police officer who seemed close to Justine, close enough that their greeting carried warmth and familiarity. Back at school, Justine wanted to speak with Alex, but Principal Marcus firmly stopped her. He explained that since Alex was the only child from her class who hadn't disappeared, he had already been questioned several times by the police and other agencies. On top of that, with parents putting heavy pressure on the school, Marcus suggested Justine take a few days off. Otherwise, the situation could escalate even further. Justine didn't want to, but she had no choice. She went on leave, though she quietly began following Alex from a distance. That night, Justine went to a bar where Paul joined her. They talked about everything that had been happening, and Justine was so drunk she even pushed Paul to drink with her. One thing led to another, and before the night was over, they ended up sleeping together. Here's where things got complicated. Paul was married. His wife's name was Donna, and Justine knew it. Still, the two of them crossed the line, and it wasn't the first time. The next day, Justine once again followed Alex and tried to approach him, but Alex told her to stop following him and ran away. Still, she didn't give up. She went to his house. When she knocked, no one answered. That's when she noticed something unsettling. Every single window of the house had been covered with paper. Looking through a small tear in one of them, she saw Alex's parents sitting on the couch, staring blankly, frozen in a strange trance-like state, like statues. Terrified, Justine immediately called Principal Marcus and told him he needed to legally check Alex's home just to make sure the boy was safe. That night, Justine parked outside Alex's house to keep watch. After a while, she drifted off to sleep in her car. Suddenly, the front door opened. Alex's mother stepped outside, holding a pair of scissors. Her movements were unnatural. She walked directly to Justine's car, slipped inside quietly, and cut off a small lock of Justine's hair, while Justine remained fast asleep, completely unaware. From this point, the perspective shifts. Now the story is told through Archer Graff's eyes. Remember, Archer's son Matthew was one of the missing children. He's the same parent who lashed out at Justine during the meeting. In fact, he was the one who followed her to the liquor store, spray-painted "witch" on her car, and kept a constant watch on her because he was convinced she was behind it all. Archer kept pressing the police for answers about his son, but they had nothing new to offer. Frustrated, he began his own investigation. He replayed the CCTV footage from his house again and again, the footage showing Matthew running out into the night. Like the others, Matthew's running style was strange. Arms stretched behind him, almost like a Naruto run, and he seemed to be moving in a very specific direction. Archer pulled out a town map and marked that direction, drawing a line outward from his house. Then he went to another victim's family to check their footage. Their daughter Bailey had run away in the same unnatural manner, but in a different direction. When Archer drew that line, it intersected with the first at a particular point. That meant all of the missing children might have been running toward the same destination. Maybe that's where they still were. As Archer dug deeper into his research, he suddenly spotted Justine's car at a gas station. She was filling her tank when Archer stormed over and confronted her, shouting in her face. But before the argument could escalate, something startling happened. Out of nowhere, Principal Marcus appeared, running in the same bizarre, childlike way as the missing kids. Not only that, Marcus was covered in blood and seemed to be in some kind of trance. Without hesitation, he charged straight at Justine, intent on attacking her. Archer tried to hold him back, but Marcus moved like a man possessed, as if his only purpose was to kill her. Justine ran into the store for safety, and Marcus shoved Archer aside to pursue her. Inside, Archer and Justine struggled together to fight him off. The way Marcus looked, completely consumed, almost bewitched, made it clear that something sinister had taken control of him. The scene cuts here. Now it's important to point out something. During both Justine's and Archer's perspectives, each of them experienced disturbing nightmares. And in both dreams, the same eerie old woman appeared. She looked almost like a clown. After this, the perspective shifts again. This time, the story is shown through Officer Paul's eyes. His wife had gone out of town, and he was at the police station when the events began to unfold. That same day, Justine had come to the station to report the word "witch" spray-painted on her car. Inside, she and Paul exchanged a glance, greeted each other, and then Paul headed back out on duty. On his patrol, Paul spotted James, the same addict who had approached Justine earlier, trying to break into a house. Paul chased him down and arrested him, but when he searched James's pockets, Paul accidentally pricked his finger on a needle, clearly one of James's drug needles. Furious, Paul struck James with a punch. The problem was that the entire incident was recorded on Paul's dash cam. If any superior officer reviewed the footage, Paul could be charged with assault and risk losing his job. So Paul struck a deal with James. He would let him go on the condition that James stayed silent about what happened and left town for good. James quickly agreed and fled. Not long after, Paul received a message from Justine. That was the night he met her at the bar, and later, the two of them ended up in bed together. The next morning, Paul returned home only to find that his wife, Donna, had come back earlier than expected. From the moment he walked in, Donna could tell he had been unfaithful with Justine. Furious, she tracked Justine down at a store and physically attacked her. Justine barely managed to escape, while the shopkeeper restrained Donna. Meanwhile, Paul went back to the police station and confessed the assault incident with James to his captain. The captain assured him that as long as James didn't file a complaint, Paul was in the clear. Since the dashcam footage automatically erased itself every month, the recording would soon disappear. But just as Paul was leaving the station, he spotted James walking toward the building. James had come back. Paul snapped, yelling that he had warned him never to return, and immediately began chasing him again. At this point, the narrative shifts once more. this time through James's perspective. James was a junkie, a man willing to spin endless lies to score drugs, often turning to petty theft when he couldn't get what he wanted. He was the same man who had asked Justine for money outside the liquor store that night. Now, desperate for something he could steal and pawn for drug money, James broke into the home of Alex, the one student who hadn't disappeared. Inside, he began pocketing whatever he could find: small household items, kitchenware, old CDs. But then he noticed something chilling. Alex's parents were sitting right there on the couch, completely motionless, like statues. They didn't move an inch, as if trapped in some kind of trance. Trying to ignore them, James went down into the basement. What he saw froze him in his tracks. The 17 missing children were standing there, all in the same trance-like state. Shocked, James turned just as Alex's parents suddenly began moving toward him. Somehow, he managed to escape the house and stumble into the street. There, he saw the posters of the missing children, each offering a $50,000 reward. Driven by greed, James called the police and claimed he knew exactly where the children were. The police told James that if he was serious and not making things up, he needed to come to the station to file an official report. Only then would he receive the reward. James went to the station, but outside he was confronted by Paul, who immediately began chasing him again. Fleeing, James ran into the forest, where he once again encountered that same old clown-like woman who had been calling out to him earlier. He ducked into a tent to hide, but someone began opening it from the outside. Panicked, James lashed out with a syringe, stabbing the figure, only to realize it was Inspector Paul. The attack sent Paul into a rage. He arrested James on the spot, threw him into his car, and prepared to haul him in. Desperate to save himself, James blurted out that he knew where the missing children were. He led Paul to Alex's house. Paul locked James inside the patrol car and went in to investigate. Hours passed, and Paul never came back out. James sat nervously in the back seat until late that night, when Paul finally emerged. But something was wrong. His eyes were vacant, his movements unnatural. In a trance-like state, Paul yanked James from the car and dragged him into Alex's house. The scene cuts there. From this point, the story shifts to Principal Marcus's perspective. Remember, Justine had urged Marcus to legally check on Alex to make sure he was safe. That thought weighed on Marcus, so he called Alex's parents to the school, but instead of them, a strange clown-like woman arrived, introducing herself as Alex's aunt. Her name was Gladys. She was the same figure Justine and Archer had seen at night, and the same one James had encountered. Gladys claimed Alex's parents were very ill and unable to meet Marcus, but Marcus insisted that he needed to see them personally. If not, he warned, he would have no choice but to visit their home himself or involve child services. Gladys was not pleased. In the next scene, Marcus is at home with his husband when Gladys suddenly shows up uninvited. She barges in like an intruder and asks for a bowl of water. Then she produces a strange wooden branch, thorn-covered, almost like a twisted plant stem. Tied to it was a strip of cloth from Marcus's office flag, something she must have stolen from the school. Without warning, Gladys cuts her hand on the thorns and smears her blood across the branch. Before Marcus or his husband can react, she rings a small bell. In an instant, Marcus falls under her hypnosis. Now completely under her control, he is powerless to resist. Gladys snips a lock of Marcus's husband's hair, ties it to the branch, and snaps the branch in two. The moment it breaks, Marcus, entranced, turns violently on his own husband. The attack is savage. By the time it ends, Marcus's husband is dead, and Marcus himself is left badly wounded. After this, Gladys drops the branch into the bowl of water, ending Marcus's trance. Gladys had the power to control anyone through hypnosis and could use them like a weapon against others. Now she turns Marcus against Justin, using Justin's hair. Remember earlier when I said Alex's mother had taken Justin's hair? This proves that Gladys also had Alex's parents under her control. Still hypnotized, Marcus takes off Naruto style toward a gas station, where he attacks Justin. Archer happens to be with Justin at the time, and a fight breaks out. Justin manages to escape into a car, and Marcus chases after him in that strange running style. Archer follows as well, but before Marcus can reach Justin, a car slams into him, splitting his head open. He dies instantly on the road. After seeing this, Archer finally understands that Justin wasn't responsible for the children's disappearance. She realizes Justin is also a victim. The two reconcile and decide to work together to find out what really happened to the children. Archer shows Justin his map, which marks a point suggesting where the children might be. Justin immediately recognizes the location, saying the house at that intersection belongs to Alex. Together, Justin and Archer drive near Alex's house and begin watching from outside. The scene then shifts, and the story is told from Alex's perspective, starting from the time before the children disappeared. Alex lived with his parents, went to school every day, and was often bullied there. One day, his father told him that his mother's aunt, Gladys, would be moving in with them because she was very sick and had nowhere else to go. That night, Alex saw his great aunt arrive. She looked extremely old, weak, and close to death. She also brought with her a strange-looking plant. The next morning, Alex went to school as usual. But when the day ended, his father didn't show up to pick him up. Alex walked home alone and found his parents sitting at the dining table in a trance-like state. They spoke to him like robots, which terrified him. Something was clearly very wrong. Suddenly, Gladys appeared before him, but she no longer looked frail and dying. Instead, she looked younger and healthier. It became clear that she had his parents under her control. Gladys warned Alex that if he told anyone about what he had seen, his parents would not survive. Then she pulled out the same thorny branch again, smeared it with her blood, and performed the ritual. Immediately, Alex's parents picked up forks and began stabbing their own faces. Horrified, Alex tried to stop them but couldn't. Finally, Gladys snapped the branch and dropped it into water, which made them stop. It was her way of showing Alex that she could kill his parents at any moment if he dared to speak out. After this, Alex sees Gladys performing rituals in the house. The strange plant she brought with her was the source of the thorny stems she used to control people. For each ritual, Gladys needed something personal from the victim, like a strand of hair or an item that belonged to them. Through these rituals, she fed on the life energy of those under her hypnosis, which made her grow young and healthy again. Meanwhile, Alex tried to carry on with life as normally as he could. He kept going to school, came back home afterward, bought food from the market, and somehow managed to keep his parents alive by feeding them beans and whatever else he could find, since they couldn't move from their seats at the dining table. During all this time, Gladys kept getting younger, but one day, Gladys suddenly became sick again. She told Alex that if he brought her personal belongings from all his classmates, she would heal his parents, free them, and leave. The next day, Alex stole the name stickers from each of his classmates' trays at school. That night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., Gladys used those stickers in a ritual. She rang a bell, and 17 children left their homes in a trance and walked straight to Alex's house. Once there, they went down into the basement and stood silently. This was how the 17 children disappeared. Afterward, there were multiple press conferences, but Gladys stayed by Alex's side the whole time. Out of fear, Alex never said a word. Even when the police searched his house, Gladys had already cleaned everything and hidden the 17 children in the forest. Once the search was over, she brought them back, and they returned to the basement, still following only her commands. It's worth noting that even though Alex kept his part of the deal by bringing her his classmates' belongings, Gladys never kept hers. She neither freed his parents nor left the house. Instead, she kept his parents under her control and treated Alex like a servant. Paul and James also ended up under her spell. Since they had entered the house, Gladys must have performed the ritual on them as well. They now stood inside the house with the others. Gladys had drawn salt lines across the floors and forbade Alex from crossing them. At this point, all perspectives and timelines in the story finally converge, and from here, the story continues in a straight line. Outside Alex's house, Archer and Justin wait. Following Gladys's command, Paul steps outside and signals for Justin to come in. Justin and Archer enter, but the moment they cross the salt lines, the hypnotized Paul and James attack them. Like zombies, they keep coming at Justin and Archer, rising again no matter how many times they're struck down. Finally, Justin grabs Paul's own gun and shoots him in the head, killing him instantly. She then shoots James in the head as well, finishing him off and saving Archer. It becomes clear that those under hypnosis can only be killed by destroying their heads. Archer hurries down to the basement, where he finds the 17 missing children standing motionless in a trance. He searches for his son, Matthew, but suddenly Gladys appears and cuts a lock of Archer's hair. Using it, she places him under her control and turns him against Justin. Meanwhile, Alex is upstairs in his room. He crosses one of the salt lines where his possessed parents wait. The moment he does, they chase after him, trying to kill him. Alex runs and stumbles into the ritual room where Gladys performed her magic. There, he snaps off a thorny stem from her plant. He then yanks a strand of Gladys's hair from her wig, smears the stem with his blood, and breaks it. Yes, Alex had just used Gladys's own magic against her. The ritual had been learned, and now it was turned on her. As a result, the 17 children under her spell suddenly turn and begin chasing her instead. Gladys flees through the city streets, with the children in pursuit. The entire town watches as the scene unfolds. At last, the children catch her, swarm her, and begin tearing her apart. Within seconds, they shred her body into pieces. With Gladys destroyed, her hold on everyone breaks. Archer regains his senses, and Justin is freed as well. Since Archer had only been under her control for a short time, he recovers fully, but those who had been possessed for much longer, including the 17 children and Alex's parents, are left in a zombie-like state. Here, Archer finally reunites with his son, Matthew, although Matthew doesn't speak. Through a voiceover, we learn that even after 2 years, Alex's parents never recovered. They still have to be fed like infants. Alex now lives with another aunt, one who is kind and normal. The children remain silent as well, though after a year, some of them slowly begin to recover and start speaking again. And with that, the movie ends. So friends, this was the story of Weapons, and it truly was a mind-blowing film. The direction especially stood out as remarkable. Now, I know you probably have a few questions in your mind, so let's go deeper into the story and clear up those doubts. Chronologically, the story begins with a woman named Gladys, who introduces herself as Alex's mother's aunt. She arrives at their home, casts a possession spell on Alex's parents, and feeds on their life force, which makes her appear younger and healthier. But that wasn't enough. She soon began to weaken again, so she blackmailed Alex into helping her bewitch his classmates, which gave her even more strength. When her schemes started to fall apart, she thought about fleeing the city, but before she could, Justin and Archer arrived at Alex's house. A storm of chaos followed, but in the end, Alex found the courage to use Gladys's own ritual against her, destroying her once and for all. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share this video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We bring you content like this regularly.